am Mel Locklear here in Blue Ridge, Georgia with the Mountain Tennis Vintage Tennis Museum. And the museum's focused on the whole concept of 50 years of tennis. And kind of starting that period was the Handsome Eight, when Lamar Hunt bought the top 8 amateurs and boycotted Wimbledon, and that opened up the big money in tennis. And what you see here are player endorsed tennis rackets all over the walls. So my focus is on player endorsed rackets, as well as tin cans and different kind of old wood presses of various sorts. And you come into kind of a chronologically driven display. You have the 20s and 30s, which is pre, or rather post World War I. And you see the top players: Bill Johnson, Bill Tilden, the Four Musketeers, and some of the great other players: Vinnie Richards, Helen Jacobs, of course the great Helen Hunt. Ellis Vine became a professional golfer after being #1 in the world. And of course they have 90 or so different Bond Budge rackets from 3 different, probably got all different players going through. Of course this is pre-World War II. Fred Perry, Don Budge, Bobby Riggs, Bitsy Grant, Frank Parker, Alice Hart, etc., etc. So I've got a picture and a racket from them. Got some metal cans down there. The white ball metal cans are obviously more desirable than the yellow can. Of course, during the war, a lot of places, either it was a non-compression ball or during the war you couldn't have metal because they needed metal for the war effort, so you had boxes. And I got all kind of covers and putting together a famous player series, Wilson display, various player endorsed rackets. And then I've got a rack of different type Dayton rackets. Got the metal racket here. That was an old Dayton back in the 30s. Got squash rackets here, etc. Going all the way back. I quit making rackets in the 1980s. So most of these rackets go back maybe into the late 1800s, up until about the late 1980s. But probably most of them in here stop in the, let's say, the 70s. But then you get up here and you got post-World War II, the big names: Pancho Gonzalez and Jack Kramer and Rod Laver. And the coaches above them, I didn't know, for instance, that Bill Tilden coached Gussie Moran. I didn't know that Teach Tennant coached the great Maureen Connolly. And then, of course, they got bins of all the rackets. Those are the great Australian players: Rod Laver, John Newcomb, Lou Hode, Kenny Rosewall, Frank Sedgman, etc. And then this really starts the open era. This is 1968. When Lamar Hunt pulled the trigger, and when Gladys Hellman pulled the trigger with Billie Jean King for the women to create open tennis. And so you got Margaret Court, Billie Jean King. There's old Ted Tinlin, who basically went to jail for showing panties on a woman's clothing at the French Open. Oh, excuse me, at Wimbledon. He was on the advisory board, but Gussie Moran, they wouldn't let her put color on there, so he brought up her shirt and brought down her panties and got kicked off the advisory board. Was admonished from Wimbledon for 30 years. Billie Jean King, Chrissy Everett, and then the men, going from Stan Smith, Jimmy Connors, Bjorn Borg, Guillermo Vilas, and Johnny McEnroe. And various players. I was here at this match. These are all collectible original pictures from publishing, like the newspaper company. Yeah, they set in their files. Somebody goes and buys them out of archives, and they put them up here. So they got a little story in the back. I was at that match. Dick Stockton, Brian Godfrey, 1971, University of Georgia finals, roommates, I think at Trinity, and they played each other, just like Sidney Wood and Brooke Shields, Frank Shields played each other almost in the finals of Wimbledon. And Brooke Shields' granddad had to default. Great story. Of course, Alice Marble was shot by the Nazis, fell down the hill. That's a whole nother story. Read about it. Alice Marble found that for $30. Look at that picture right there. Isn't that nice? No, $60. $60. Look at all the intricacies in there. With $60.